Alright, so we're on level 2, and we're looking at solving two-step equations, but we're putting a lot more negatives into this one. So the idea is still the same. You have an equation, so there's two sides, and you're trying to find the value for x that gives you a balanced equation. So what makes a true statement? So one side should be equal to 58, and the other. We're going to use order of operations backwards, so inverse order of operations, to isolate the x. So we're starting with addition and subtraction first. When you look at this problem, you have the 3 next to the x, and you have the negative 2 minus 3x. The negative 2 is being subtracted, or added, so that's what you need to do first. In order to get rid of this negative 2, you have to do the opposite. Think of the negative 2 as being like a hole. You got a hole in the ground that's negative 2 deep. To get rid of it, you got to fill the hole. So add 2, we'll fill that up and make it 0. That's what you're doing when you do the inverse here. You're adding 2 to each side of the equation. Negative 2 plus 2 gives you 0. So bring down this. It's still a negative 3x. Notice I took that negative sign with it. And 58 plus 2 is 60. Now we have negative 3x equals 60. The negative 3x means multiplication, so you have to do the inverse. We're going to divide by negative 3. These are going to cancel, and we'll get x equals. Now when we divide negatives and positives, integers, there's a set rule to follow. And if you were here in the summer, you know integer man from there. This is just a way to remember it. So we're going to cover the sign of each of the numbers we're dividing. So you have a positive 60, so I'd cover the positive 60, divided by negative 3, so I'll cover up the negative, and the one that's left over is the sign of my answer. So there's a negative left over, so you got a negative 20 for our solution. And that's the answer to that question.